Have you ever watched someone navigate absolute chaos with an almost supernatural composure, as if they possessed an internal compass that pointed steadily toward peace, no matter how violent the storms around them became? What if this isn't a rare gift or genetic lottery, but rather the result of four specific mental technologies, refined over millennia by philosophers who faced plagues, wars, exile, and every conceivable form of human suffering? Tonight, we explore four foundational Stoic principles that will transform how your mind responds to chaos, turning you from a victim of circumstances into an island of unshakable calm in life's most turbulent waters. Before we dive into these transformative principles, I want you to engage with this content in a way that signals your commitment to real change. Like this video if you're ready to discover what true mental stability looks like. Subscribe to Inner Dominion because we're building a community of individuals who refuse to be controlled by external chaos. Share this with someone who deserves to know that peace isn't found in perfect circumstances, but forged within an unshakable mind. These four principles have been tested by Roman emperors facing barbarian invasions, by slaves enduring unimaginable cruelty, by philosophers confronting their own mortality, and they will work for you if you're willing to practice them with the dedication they deserve. The first principle strikes at the very root of human suffering and offers you complete liberation from the exhausting battle against forces beyond your influence. Master the dichotomy of control with surgical precision. Epictetus, who understood both literal and metaphorical chains, taught that we are disturbed not by events themselves, but by our judgments about events. And this distinction between what is up to us and what is not represents the fundamental divide between slavery and freedom. When chaos erupts around you, when financial markets collapse, when relationships dissolve, when health challenges emerge, when career plans crumble, your untrained mind immediately begins searching for something to control, something to blame, some way to force reality to conform to your preferences. But the Stoic mind, trained through daily practice in this essential distinction, responds differently. It immediately asks, what aspects of this situation fall within my sphere of influence, and what aspects do not? Your spouse's decision to leave you is not up to you, but how you respond to that decision absolutely is. The economy's impact on your industry is not up to you, but your preparation, adaptation, and daily efforts within whatever economic conditions exist completely are. Your child's choices as they become adults are not up to you, but the example you set, the love you offer, and the wisdom you share remain entirely within your control. When you stop wasting precious mental energy trying to control the uncontrollable, something extraordinary happens. You discover vast reserves of power that can be directed toward what actually matters. The executive who learns this principle stops losing sleep over market fluctuations they cannot influence, and instead focuses intensely on the strategic decisions, relationship building, and skill development that genuinely lie within their power. The parent stops trying to control their teenager's social choices and instead models the integrity, wisdom, and emotional stability they hope to inspire. This isn't resignation or passivity. It's the ultimate form of personal responsibility, taking complete ownership of your responses while releasing yourself from the impossible burden of managing the universe. The second principle introduces a practice that might initially seem counterintuitive, but proves to be one of the most powerful tools for maintaining calm in unpredictable circumstances. Embrace negative visualization as mental armor. The Stoics called this premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils, not to cultivate anxiety or pessimism, but to build psychological resilience through mental rehearsal of challenging scenarios. Every morning, spend a few minutes considering what might go wrong during your day, not to invite trouble, but to prepare your mind so that if difficulties arise, they don't catch you completely off guard and overwhelm your emotional equilibrium. Imagine your most important presentation encountering technical difficulties, or a crucial client meeting becoming unexpectedly tense, or receiving disappointing news about a project you've invested months developing. By mentally rehearsing these possibilities, you accomplish something profound. You reduce their emotional impact if they actually occur because you've already faced them in your imagination. When the real-life version unfolds, it feels familiar rather than shocking, manageable rather than catastrophic. This practice isn't about becoming cynical or expecting the worst. It's about building confidence in your ability to handle whatever life presents. When you regularly visualize challenges and mentally practice responding to them with grace, wisdom, and calm determination, you develop an unshakable trust in your own resilience. You stop being afraid of difficulty because you know from repeated mental experience that you can navigate uncertainty without losing your center. The person who practices negative visualization discovers that most of their fears were based on the unknown. And once you've explored the landscape of potential challenges, that unknown territory becomes familiar ground where you can walk with confidence. The third principle addresses one of modern life's most persistent sources of mental agitation and offers a pathway to genuine presence that no external achievement can provide. Anchor yourself completely in the present moment. Marcus Aurelius, writing while managing an empire under constant threat, reminded himself that the present moment is the only time that actually exists, the only space where your power to choose your thoughts, actions, and responses can be exercised. When chaos erupts around you, your mind's natural tendency is to spiral into anxious projections about the future or painful ruminations about the past, neither of which serve any constructive purpose, and both of which rob you of the clarity and peace available right now. The Stoic practice of present moment awareness isn't about pretending that planning for the future or learning from the past are unimportant. It's about recognizing that the actual work of living, the actual opportunity to exercise virtue and make wise choices, exists only in this moment. When you find yourself overwhelmed by the magnitude of challenges facing you, bring your attention back to this breath, this heartbeat, this immediate decision that needs to be made. Ask yourself, what does this specific moment require of me, and how can I respond in a way that aligns with my deepest values? This practice transforms how you experience difficulty because it breaks overwhelming situations down into manageable moments. Instead of trying to solve everything at once or figure out how you'll handle all possible future complications, you focus entirely on responding well to what's actually in front of you right now. The person who masters this principle discovers that they can handle virtually anything for the duration of a single moment. And since life only ever presents itself one moment at a time, this means they can handle virtually anything life offers. Presence becomes your refuge, your source of clarity, your foundation for wise action regardless of external circumstances. The fourth and final principle synthesizes the others into a way of being that makes you virtually immune to the psychological chaos that destroys most people's peace. Respond according to your values, not your emotions. Your feelings are weather systems in the sky of consciousness, sometimes stormy and turbulent, sometimes calm and clear, always changing and ultimately temporary. But your values are like mountains beneath the sky, unmoved by atmospheric conditions, providing stable reference points for navigation regardless of the emotional climate you're currently experiencing. When someone criticizes your work unfairly, your immediate emotional response might be anger, defensiveness, or hurt pride. But when you've trained yourself to respond according to your values rather than your emotions, you pause and ask, what does integrity require in this situation? What would wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance look like in my response? Sometimes this means acknowledging valid points within unfair criticism. Sometimes it means maintaining professional courtesy while privately dismissing feedback from someone whose judgment you don't respect. Sometimes it means defending your position firmly but without personal attack or emotional reactivity. Living this way requires constant vigilance and daily practice because emotions are immediate and values require reflection. But it creates an internal stability that no external force can shake. People learn to trust you because your responses flow from consistent principles rather than fluctuating feelings. You develop self-respect because you know that regardless of outcomes, you've acted in alignment with your deepest convictions about what kind of person you want to be. When chaos erupts around you, and it will because chaos is woven into the fabric of existence, these four principles become your anchors. You immediately distinguish between what you can and cannot control, focusing your energy where it can actually make a difference. You draw on your mental rehearsal of difficult scenarios, responding with prepared calm rather than reactive panic. You anchor yourself in this present moment rather than being swept away by anxious futures or painful pasts. And you respond according to your values rather than your emotions, maintaining your integrity regardless of external pressures. These principles don't eliminate chaos from your life. Nothing can do that. But they transform your relationship with chaos from victimhood to mastery, from helplessness to power, from anxiety to peace. The ancient Stoics discovered something that our crisis-driven culture has largely forgotten. True security comes not from controlling external circumstances, but from building an internal fortress that can remain calm and clear regardless of what storms rage outside its walls. The mind trained in these four principles becomes like water, flexible enough to flow around obstacles, strong enough to carve through stone over time, clear enough to reflect reality accurately, and deep enough to remain calm even when surface winds create temporary turbulence. As you close your eyes tonight and prepare for whatever tomorrow may bring, remember that chaos is not your enemy. It's your training ground, your opportunity to practice these principles and discover the unshakable peace that exists at your core. What kind of person will you choose to become in the face of life's inevitable uncertainties? And how will you begin building that foundation of calm strength today?